Yo, good morning. This is Reverend Jeffrey Timms, Reverend JT. Just giving a little commentary on the things that's been going on in the last couple of days that's concerning me regarding the community that we live in and our children as a whole, and how we are failing our children and allowing them to be allowing them to be hunted, really. I talk a lot when I go to the schools and things in the area here in D.C., in Maryland. I talk to the kids about how they are actively being hunted and pursued by members that don't have their best interest at heart. And I hold the adults responsible for a lot of what's going on with our children, because one of the first things that in the animal kingdom a mother teaches its cub to do is blend in and camouflage. That cub is taught to blend in and camouflage because the mother already knows that there's predators out there watching and waiting for that cub to slip up, and as soon as they do, they're going to consume that cub or whatever the animal is. And so we have to essentially do the same thing with our children. We have to let them know that there are members of society that are actively hunting for them and actively waiting for them to slip up and make some kind of fatal error that will cause them to be incarcerated for the rest of their lives, or cause them to be put into whatever system they think that they should be in, all because we failed to let them know that they had a target on their back. And until we come together as a community and let the children know that they have this target on their back, then they won't be able to stand for themselves. I'm not pushing that we should not have personal freedom to express ourselves. I'm just saying that until it's time and until you're able to stand on your own, then that's when you should be out expressing yourself however you feel. If you cannot afford a lawyer, you should not be out doing things that will cause you to go to jail, because you can't even afford to get out of jail with the assistance that's needed. You don't even understand how to read your charges. So the arresting officers and the prosecutors, they tell you what your charges say, and then you think that because this is what they say that it says, and they said if I sign this paper I'll go home just as soon as I sign the paper. Well, you don't even know what the paper says, and the child is signing away because we haven't taken time to realize that this is our responsibility to encourage and to teach each one of our children. There was an unfortunate killing down in Florida a couple of days ago, another one. Trayvon Martin was the first, and now we have this young man named Jordan Davis. We have to come together. We have to come together as a black community, as a brown community, as a human community. We have to come together. The word community, I like the word community because as I thought about it one night, I saw two words inside the word of community, which made that word community a compound word. The words that I saw was the words common and unity. When I began to think of the word community and then broke it down into common unity, we have to go back and identify what commonly unites us all if we ever are to see a community again. We can proclaim all the community rebuilding, all the community togetherness, all the community this and the community that, but if we don't know what the common unity is, what commonly unites us all, how can we ever see a community again? We have to go back and let them know that I need you. I rely on you for this service, or you can rely on me for that service, and I can provide this for you, and you can provide that for me, and this is how we can be in community together. But until we do that, we're going to be just stuck in a situation and in a state of just idleness and hoping for something that may never come. So we have to come together as leaders of the community and then begin to promote the positive things and accentuate the positive in our children and let them know that we see you doing good. We see you doing the right thing, but also I see something that's of a concern to me, and if I don't address it, somebody else will, and maybe they'll address it with a gun when you could address it with your words. It's up to us to come together now and protect those that we love the most. We can't keep waiting on other people to come in and do what we need to do for us. We We have everything right here within our own grasp, within our own reach, within our own power to bring us up together right now. There's no excuse for people saying that they didn't have a support system around them when we are as strong as we are. We showed up in record numbers for the election of 2012. We need to show up in record numbers when Sally next door tells us that she don't have milk for her child. We need to show up in record numbers when Johnny down the street says that he can't get a ride to work. And we need to show up in record numbers when grandmama says she can't come and get granddaddy off the floor. We need to show up like that when it's things that matter to us the most. And of course the election mattered. But there's things closer to home that we need to be more concerned about at certain times of our life. And right now, our children are one of those things that we need to be concerned about. It makes no sense for the dropout rate to be as high as it is. We need to come against the media that is telling them that they can obtain to be whatever they see on TV, when they know in actuality that the people on TV, they have degrees. Most of them, they have education. We have our children chasing a carrot that they'll never be able to reach, never be able to obtain. It grieved me. I often heard about a child that couldn't read, and I thought that it was more so a unicorn. I didn't know that it really existed. But I was grieved to find out that a 17-year-old boy that I came across in Gary, Indiana, couldn't read. I was mentoring this young man, and I had an appointment with one of the senators there in Indiana. And when it was time for me to go to my appointment, I handed him the card of the senator who I was going to meet with, and I said, "This is who I'm going to meet with now." And he began to struggle through reading the name of the senator and even the word senator itself. He couldn't read it at 17 years old, and it really struck me as wow. I couldn't grasp it. So I sat back and I said, "Listen, between me and you have to be honest and know that I'm coming from a position of nothing but love. Can you read?" That's what I asked him. He said no. 17 years old. I thought that was, I didn't realize that it really existed like that, that 17-year-olds and even older and younger are struggling through life without being able to read. We have a responsibility to these children. We have a responsibility to each other. We can't go through life and think that everything is worth the celebration when you have these ones that's going out and celebrating the lives of deviants and criminals and people that are not being productive in the community, and we want to celebrate that and cause it and report on it as news and things that matter to the black community. I don't agree. I don't agree. If this is all the children see, this is all they think that they can be, this is all they think that there's out there for them to do, why do you wonder why they stand on the block all night long? Because that's the only way we've shown them that they can get out the neighborhood. All they see on TV is the glorification of gangster rap and mob society and just unruliness altogether. I'm not promoting just being a boring whatever you want to call it, but we have to bring this thing under control. A couple weeks ago, I wondered why all NBA and NFL games were played in prime time slots on television. And then I compared that to that of baseball. So many of the baseball games throughout the season are played during matinee hours, during the 1 and 2 o'clock, during the lunch hour time slots of the day. Unless it's a weekend, you will never find an NBA or NFL game during a lunch hour or 1 or 2 o'clock slot of any day besides Saturday and Sunday, unless it's a holiday. Why is that? Because that's what they want our boys and girls to aspire to be. If we can get them to think that they can obtain to be this millionaire ball player, if we think that if we can get them to dream to be this millionaire football player, if we can get them to attain to be this rapper, if we can get them to attain to be if they want to be this singer, if they want to be this small segment of society that has seemed to make it big or seem to be very affluent and well off, then they won't strive or want to go and learn how to be the lawyers and the doctors. We're saving those jobs for our children. I oftentimes get frustrated. I get frustrated at the lack of support that's needed in the community that we won't give. Yeah, I'm not saying, I know that there's ones that's out there doing things, but we need to make it known what we're doing together. We need to make it known what we're doing in our own little segments of the country and in the world. And we need to do those things together. We need to begin to duplicate and replicate the programs that's working in your neighborhood. We need to begin to come together and let each other know that this is what worked when Johnny wouldn't come home late at night. We were able to interest him in coming home to get in bed early so he can go to school like this. This is what we did when Sally didn't want to go to school that morning. This is how we encouraged her into going to school and getting her to realize that, yes, I will need algebra and geometry later on in life. This is what we had to do in order to encourage our children in our neighborhood. And maybe if you try the same thing, it just might work. Instead, we think that we need to have ownership of every idea that comes into our head when we know that it'll benefit someone else. We don't want to let go of it because we're too selfish. Maybe when we become selfless, maybe the world will change a little bit more. When we stop thinking about ourselves so much. The great leaders, the great ones that's out there we need people in the neighborhoods. We need people to support the communities of the ex-felons. We need to support that community. I mean, it makes no sense for somebody in the community to come out of jail after being there for however many years to no one waiting to take him or her wherever they have to go. Then we wonder why the recidivism rate is so high. In Indiana, I began to talk to, in Lake County, Indiana, I began to talk to the sheriff there. And we're in the process of implementing a program where we will pick up the discharged inmates 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, at 12 noon, and then begin the reentry process with those inmates. Because as it stands now, the inmates are just turned to the streets, as it is in most cities. They're often made to walk home, find their way at home, get home however you can. Then they are frustrated, disappointed, and discouraged because the person that they have been talking to on the inside for 3 or 4 years or however long they were there is nowhere to be found. And we wonder why. The anger is such. We wonder why the lack of self-confidence is such. We wonder why there's just an overall sense of depression in our community. Because we haven't realized that we need that individual that was just released from jail. We need him not to break in our house. We need him not to break in our business. We need him not to steal our car. We need him to get himself together so that he can be a productive citizen in our community, and therefore we can all get together, we can all make it and advance together. But we have to come back and identify the areas that we are commonly united. We can't wait any longer. Time is now. In 2011, I went to Indiana, to Gary, Indiana, for a month of revivals in July. That's the area that I'm from. And after going there, I ran into several of my former classmates from high school, and they had a look on their face that was just a look of despair and despondency, and they just seemed to not aspire to be anything more than what they were able to see in their face, and that was just their reflection in whatever mirror they happened to look in that day, and that didn't give them the sense of pleasure that they wanted, so they just continued to do the same thing over and over again. Get drunk, get high, do this, sit around, not productive, not do anything, play video games all day. It was just a never-ending cycle every day. But as I went back to Gary last year in 2011, that was my first time going in several years. And I had heard about the condition of the city and how it had gone down to such a degree that so many people were fleeing from the city and no one wanted to come in and invest, and they said there were no jobs, no opportunities there, nothing for the young people to do. Matter of fact, before going back in 2011, I would get asked often, they said, "Jeff, when are you coming back home?" I would say, "I'm not ever coming back. I was one of the lucky ones that got out." However, God saw fit to send me right back there in 2011 for revivals and to just lend my hand wherever I could. I ended up staying an entire year. But when I got there in July of 2011, I saw nothing but opportunity there. The things that people saw as challenges, I saw those things as opportunities. I saw those things as business opportunities. I saw those things as ways for the young people to come together to rebuild their city. And Gary isn't unique in that matter. It can be done it can be done in Detroit. It can be done in every inner urban city that they say that there's not enough money to revitalize the city. These things can be done there. We have on TV, when I used to watch, I don't watch TV anymore, but when I watched TV, there was a show on the one of the either the Discovery Channel or History Channel or something, where people will go through and they will recycle wood, and they had a show on this guy where he was diving into the river and pulling up wood that was lost and reclaiming these things. In these urban cities that we have around the country, we have all types of opportunities. We have so many dilapidated homes that naturalists and survivalists, they are looking for these things that they call reclaimed wood. All of the abandoned homes that we have in the area, we can just go back and reclaim those items in them. Everything in an abandoned house, everything in a dilapidated house, everything in an abandoned structure, every piece of building item material costs money to put there. From the bricks to the windows. There was a cost associated with every item that made that structure stand. When we as a black community realize that what we have in our hand, we can go out and we can make things become what we need it to be. That same structure that you see as an eyesore can be deconstructed, and the items that you deconstruct and salvage can be sold as new items or reused. But yet we sit there and wait for somebody to come in and tell us what we need to do, or tell us how we can get on this program or get on that program, or that there's money for housing here or there's money for housing there. You have money for housing at the end of your fingers. Use them. Make something for yourself. Our children are crying for us to just pay attention to them. They don't want to be in the position they're in. They've just not bought into the belief and the idea that something else exists for them. Yes, they've been told it. But so often we ask them, what's wrong with you? Why don't you get it? What's wrong? What do I have to do? What's wrong with you? Nothing's wrong with them. They just want, what's wrong with them is they want to be loved. They want to know that somebody cares. They want somebody to tell them that it's going to be all right. somebody to tell them that you ain't got to stand on the corner all night long selling yourself and doing all types of things. I got your back. They want to know that you've been where they are. They want to know that what they're experiencing isn't unique to them. They want to know that you can see them. That's what they want to know. That's what all the acting out is about. Not something that they want to do on their own. It's something that they're doing to try and get your attention. But we view that as something that they're doing to be destructive, and we say that we're scared of them and we don't give them the love that they want, so they continue to act out even more, and it becomes a cycle of violence that ended up escalating to a point of no return. We don't have to lose our kids. We don't have to lose them. We don't have to lose them. We don't have to lose them because it's in your ability, it's in our ability, it's in my ability to go out there and just let them know that they are loved. Depression is a serious beast in our community. We need to remove the stigma of seeking mental counseling and evaluation in the black community. If we can't see, we'll go get glasses. If our teeth are messed up, we'll go get braces. If our arm is broke, we'll get a cast on our arm. But too often in the black community, if we can't get our thoughts together, we won't go and seek mental therapy because we are then deemed as having mental problems. I tell it often that I live with ADHD. I take medicine for it every day. I was raped as a little boy by one of my older male cousins in an abandoned house in Gary, Indiana, from the age of 5 to 9 years old. I didn't realize the magnitude that it had, that it affected me until about 13 years old. That's when I began to come into the understanding of liking girls and wanting to know more about what girls was. But I also then realized that the things that happened between those years was really messed up. So I couldn't talk about it at 13 years old. I couldn't tell anybody about it because then it became embarrassing, and then they became to call you gay, and everything that was going through my mind, I made it be my reality. I couldn't say nothing because it would mess up the family. I couldn't do this because that. I couldn't do that because this. So I carried that burden without telling anyone until I was 23 years old. I fought like crazy as a teenager because every time I went to concentrate on any studies or anything productive or anything constructive, I would have the flashbacks to those years. So I never studied it. It made my stomach literally hurt to try and study and concentrate on reading, because I never knew when the images would flash back in my head of those years. It wasn't until the movie Antoine Fisher, I've only seen that movie one time, but I watched it the Thanksgiving night that it came out in 2003, I believe it was. And that was the first time that I had ever told anyone. I told my wife. But had I been able to really believe that somebody would believe what I had been through and be able to just let me know that it's okay and I'll be all right, that situation that I didn't get handled until I was 23 years old could have been handled 10 years earlier. I graduated high school with a 1.9 GPA. Didn't go to college. I went to the Marine Corps, spent 4 years in the Marine Corps, got out in 2002. But I wonder often how my life could have been different had I known that it was okay We have to allow people to let us know that they're hurting. We have to allow them to let us know that they're hurting without making them the cause of the hurt. We have to allow the children to give explanations of situations and not confuse the explanation with an excuse. So often we're quick to tell the child that it's an excuse that they're given when it's only their explanation as to why they're in the situation they're in. It's not meant to be an excuse. There's so many areas for improvement in our community and in our society and as a people as a whole. We have to come together. We have to love each other. We truly have to want to see the best for everybody. Life isn't short. Life isn't hard. Life isn't long. Life isn't everything that people try to make life be. Life just is. But in the journey of life, God will put you in place of people's lives that He needs you to express your stories and to share your past life and the things in your past. We have to not be afraid to let people see that we haven't always had it together. Yeah, I've been there too. No, that's not unique to you. You're going to make it. We have to do these things. And the time to do them is now. Again, my name is Reverend Jeffrey Timms, founder of Hope Restored. You can contact me via email at r3v.jt1@gmail.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at r3vjt. I need help. The children need help. Will you be that help? Love you.